prayers go with you.
Hello everyone, Battlefield 6 trailer came out and I have to say guys, and I am absolutely loving it. This trailer is probably one of the best I've seen for a long time for a video game, especially Battlefield. The last few Battlefields have been meh, and this one I was getting hyped up before because 2 days before, or the July 23rd, we got that small trailer that would explain the story of what's going to be going on. I covered it to try and figure out what was going on. And then this trailer came out on July 24th. And now we get to a little bit more of an idea of what's going on in the story. And what's going on in this new game of Battlefield. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people making comments about this trailer. I personally love it. I have no issues with it whatsoever. It looks really well done. The graphics are in detail. We get everything we need to talk about in this trailer. I'm not going to go too far into it because I want to talk about the story separately. But I'm going to talk about things I think are important in the trailer for us to keep a notion of. Now, I want to talk about this bit by bit and take my little points to what I think is going on. Now, if we remember before, the news information or the news articles and everything like that was telling us about this group called Pax Armata, a militia group or militia army group attacking a Georgian military base, killing the secretary of NATO, and the words of proxies in the United States. And I think from what we're seeing right at the start of this trailer is the attack on New York, the attack on the Brooklyn Bridge. But before we even get to that, we actually, if you were watching the trailer before, or the pre-release before the trailer, there was actually this amazing shot. I've only got the shot of the president here with his hands. But when you were watching the trailer beforehand, you were actually watching them set up the camera for the president's speech. And you were hearing all the reporters in the background. They were like, France is leaving, Pax Armata, what's going on? Things are going off, attacks on Brooklyn, and everything's like, fuck, okay, everyone, that's a different press. And then it hits on to the president. Now, if you take a look when it goes past, you see the president's hand looks like it's been damaged. Or he has punched someone. And I think what has happened is there was an attack on the president just as much as the attack on the Secretary General, but the only difference is they didn't get away with killing the president. It could be something to do with that. But the trailer does go straight on to showing us the attack on the Brooklyn Bridge with a missile striking right into the Brooklyn Bridge. Many times this bridge gets hit today. You get to see the mass amount of soldiers with police into the footage, and people are getting shocked by that. I'm like, well, no, you do have heavily armed police. This is possibly the hint to Pax Armata doing an attack on Brooklyn and doing a full-out assault where they need every man on station, and it looks to be interesting. And there's moves straight on to what people are assuming are going to be these house raids, like Modern Warfare 2019 kind of raids. I think this wasn't that with the shots of the soldiers in the house. I believe this was just to show what the soldiers look like. The show, you know, not the Fortnite style soldiers, not the dress up wherever you can be, like full on military gear, everyone's weapons, everyone's got the light equipment, the light gear. This is a serious Battlefield mode, everyone's in their masks. This is proper military shooter. We don't actually know which side these soldiers are on. I assume it's the American military at this point. And you get this is one thing this trailer does really well is show the weapons. It shows the detail of the weapons. Some of these ones over here, you can actually verify what each ones are, and I'm impressed by anyone who does that, because I can't name half of these guns, but you can really tell they put in the details of making sure the gear's right, the soldiers are right, the environments are right, and just the weapons themselves and everything just in peak detail. It moves straight on to the shot of the helicopter, the empty apartment, then the Apache helicopter flying straight through into the apartment building. And I think this is really to show this new mechanic of... There's going to be a lot of helicopters crashing in this one. And yeah, we're going to get a lot more of these. But really what I think this was to show was the new style that they've got the damage effect into this game, where you see it crash through the building, and then afterwards you actually see it sitting there. So this is a whole new feature where the damage effect of these buildings can withstand a building's contact. Because if you remember Battlefield 5, when planes just hit a building, they just blew up immediately. Now we can actually maybe see a helicopter crash into the side of the building and just sit there for a good bit. Then it moves on to the Brooklyn Bridge getting shot by something, but I've been able to find out this is actually a fighter jet hitting the Brooklyn Bridge again, and it moves on to this amazing shot of the street that a lot of people take their photos on, of the Brooklyn Bridge, of a perfect shot in the street, but you really see the graphics in this picture I've got here. You see, I believe there's a Leopard tank in the mid shooting and firing. There's something going on there. The entire environment around the street here is collapsing, and you get to see the effects of the details of how much they've updated the damage effects on these buildings, and it's amazing seeing the helicopter going straight through it. I mean, I have to admit. Now, let's go and talk about what I think is going on here with the Pax Armata. So, that's their name. What I've got with the picture here is we've got clearly soldier with his own weapons and so on, but this is them at the airport. I believe this is Gibraltar's airport, where they were able to take it on. They were able to take over it, and you were able to find this out eventually in this next photo I'll explain in a second. But you get to see the uniform Pax Armata has. You look at this list, and he looks like a sort of an African-themed just strip around his arm. But you also notice around his body as well, it's there's black, there's green, and yellow. Now, this is probably emphasizing the fact that Pax Armata has been able to get soldiers from the entire world to join to this one coalition against the NATO. You see soldiers in the back in the yellow and black, and I believe this is a theme that PAX is going to have. So the PAX guys are going to have, obviously, militia gear, but they're going to have a very distinct green and yellow theme to their whole gear. And they'll probably get a whole layer of weapons, because the guy in the back apparently has a PRK of all things, and the guy at the front's wearing something different. Now, why do I say this is Gibraltar? Well, we move on to the next shot where we actually see hundreds of soldiers, 50, hundreds, lots of soldiers coming. Looks like they've prepared for battle. They're making their way off from the Chinooks and loading on to other Chinooks or something. They're getting ready for battle again, because I bet the United States is coming in. But you just see the amount of soldiers that are just there. This is an enemy ready to go. This is an enemy willing to fight and take them down. And you know this is the Pax Armata because behind the Chinook there's a flag with the logo of the thing on there. And if you look at that building at the back, we will have to bring that up later. But that is, I believe, Gibraltar. So we don't have to be too worried about that. This shot here is kind of something that I think we're going to be seeing the theatre of war moving into the Middle East. Well, probably Cairo of all things, but there's where the Tajikistan... Can't even say the name. Tajikistan. Fuck it, I don't care. You get to see here the Paz soldiers are wearing yellow. This could be the Egyptian soldiers, but you don't know. But that's just making that clear. We move on to the fighter jets, where showing a bit of Top Gun here, trying to look cool. But looks like we're gonna actually get these extra missions with the fighter jets, which is gonna be cool. If we can get to Tajikistan, it'd be fine. I'm not fucking saying that name again. But then we move on to the tanks in the middle of the desert. Now, these are the ones that look very interesting because this is in Cairo because at the back you see the pyramids. So Cairo is definitely going to be a place we're going to be because if Pax Armata thinks they can take France on board, they're going after Gibraltar, trying to take that connection to the sea routes, and they probably have an ally in Cairo or Egypt. So that'd be interesting as well. Other points I want to mention are they do show a scene where there's a sort of a trench run through the middle of the thing, and I'm like, this could be a bit of Twisted Steel. I wouldn't be too bothered about that, but it shows the environments can go whatever way they can. Was very unpredictable, and I think this is really not the story. I think this is actually the multiplayer. Because I think a lot of these shots might just be multiplayer and they're just, you can't tell the difference because you don't know which side soldiers are on with their uniforms. So it's going to be interesting. Now, one thing I want to make sure about is when I talk about the story, which I'll do on the Wolfbite main channel, is to talk about these guys. So, this is obviously our main character. And I believe we have two main characters in this story, where we will have this guy, which will be part of a NATO strike force. Apparently, this guy, from rumors, he's part of a coalition task force. So there's going to be soldiers from different places, and he's going to be leading it. Very vibes of the guy from World War II, Call of Duty. And I think he's got a very similar scar to what's happened with his friend we'll talk about later on. But I think we're going to get, with the entire war going on as well, different things happening, different situations, I think we will have to see what's going on between this guy and another guy. And I think we will be playing both sides of this. And the word is this war didn't need to happen. Like all wars. This is the shot here where I mentioned the Modern Warfare shot, Clear House. I think we're going to be getting that again, which would be ace, because I think this is actually Cairo. We did get a shot of them being in Cairo, and it'd be, I think it'd be interesting to see what we can do with this, because there's probably going to be a lot in this story. I hope they do more. I hope they don't just do little things and like, we're done after 6 missions. You can do so much with the story. You failed it the last time. You have the capability. Also, another shot where clearly the dam getting burst, the environment's getting destroyed. Awesome. Moving on. Here's a shot here of the Black Hawk helicopter, which starts using its minigun on these development buildings, and this is where you can it's Cairo with the pyramids in the background, where this helicopter also gets shot down, but it doesn't matter. You see it goes for the building, weird enough, and this is just where I'm thinking this might actually be multiplayer because you got soldiers looking at the. There was a guy standing in the building and the helicopter just goes straight through him, and I'm like, okay, so 1, he shouldn't have been in that building, or 2, that was just what multiplayer was meant to make it look like. But you see him crash through the building, and so on, and you see helicopters don't just explode on the first time they hit something. They go through the building. That's why there's a shot where you see the tank running through the building at the end of the trailer, and I'm like, okay, if we can get the vehicles to go through buildings and not get destroyed, that's going to be ace. Online and offline, and it's going to be fun. Now, here goes the bit I wanted to talk about as well, because there's a shot of where the vehicles are getting dismounted from the aircraft carrier. This is where I think this is Gibraltar, obviously, that tower in the background there, I think that's the airport. You see lots of landing craft. Now, I don't think this is actually the United States, because apparently these vehicles they use here haven't been used in a long time. So, PAX might be using second-hand weapons or vehicles, but if this is the United States, they're just throwing everything at it. So, this would be cool. Obviously, they show the aircraft carrier here. This is one of the few, remember Battlefield 4. That was actually kind of cool, being in an aircraft carrier, to be fair. That one of their gimmicks, but you see in the air, there's fighter jets, F-16s, Apache helicopters, Blackhawks, whatever. And it's cool. And then we get this D-Day beach landing at Gibraltar. This is where I think it's one, PAX makes its way on board, or two, this is the American counterattack or the NATO counterattack where they go in hard. And I love the D-Day vibes. I mean, Gibraltar's just going to be a target. I mean, everything's just going to get messed. You see it all over the trailer. You see them parachuting into the mountain at the side there. That is Gibraltar, no doubt. You see one of the buildings getting knocked down before. And it'd be interesting. So, back to characters. This guy. Now, I don't know if he's you or he's one of these voiceless characters, but I think he might be one of the coalition soldiers or the NATO soldiers. But the weird thing is he's got this mask over his face and he's not got a full-on suit, but it's weird. His gulp suit's a bit odd, but whatever. I'm assuming so, because the guy he hit was with the yellow bands. So I think this is probably the good guy. So, they do get a shot of the Brooklyn Bridge getting attacked. This shows the two F-16s, which I believe might have been the ones that shown at the start, go straight past the Statue of Liberty and then attack the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, I think this is one of the first earlier shots of the mission, because if you look back at the shot before, there's a blackbird in the sky, and you don't really notice it quick enough because it's just going past, but you hear it over the radio that they realize the fighter jets are going to do something, and then they bang. They blow up the bridge there. Now, that could be the Americans, or that could be someone else, but you see the complete destruction of the bridge, and I have to say, it's glorious. The detail that they put in, and the train that comes off, or the tram cut, I think that might be the one of the yellow ones we'll talk about later. So, Ginger Boy. We have to talk about him. He's got these burn scars as well. Same ones as the other guy had before. I think this guy could be the leader of, not maybe PAX, but one of like the special commando leaders, a part of the PAX Armada groups. There's a bit of history between the two. He's got his knife out, and I've been looking forward if we can know anything more about it. Quick say here, this is Gibraltar, skydiving in. Like I said, there's a shot of everyone coming out of planes, doing high altitude drop. This is probably it, onto the Gibraltar mountaintop. Simple as. Picture of the building here that I said in Gibraltar. I think Gibraltar could be a really hard point of the game, or it's going to be very early on because it's featured a lot, or it's just featured so much that we don't know about it. There's this shot of the famous carousel that's in Brooklyn, and people have been saying this is maybe where one of the online maps are going to be, and I think this will be it. I don't know New York that well, but the carousel's popular. Here's the last shot here of the train. At the background, these are the gold carts. They used to have them in the 60s. They used to transport gold through them, and the word is we're going to have this mission right at the start. They're trying to stop them from doing something. But if you notice, that's the same ones that get hit on the Brooklyn Bridge when the fighter jets shoot them down. So I don't know exactly what's going on there, but it could be anything. But like I said, I'm only going over the trailer, what I've seen, want to get my little opinion out there. Everyone's done a 20-minute long video about it. We're all working off the same stuff. But I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone for watching this video. This is very new for me to even be working this good about this kind of stuff. So I'm like, thank you everyone for watching this video. Please check my Wolf by Initiative Network video where I go over the story elements I think is going to be in it. And good night.